Good evening, friends. Welcome back again. And good evening, sir. So, here is with us Mr. Pradeep Gulipalli, and co founder of Target Analytics. Sir, good evening. Is it good to go?
Hi, Sharav.
Yes.
Look,
So,
I hope you can hear me fine.
yes, definitely. Very clear. So, Mr. Pradeep is a co founder of Tiger Analytics, a firm that specializes in developing bespoke AI and analytics solutions for a global clientele. He started his career as a researcher building mathematical models and economic simulations of cities. Since then, he has worked with a variety of businesses, helping embed scientific decision making in their organization. For the last 10 years of existence, Tiger Analytics has evolved into a leading player in the space, working with the biggest brands in the business world. With a 5 times growth over the last 2 years, the firm is among the fastest growing in this space. Tiger has been the recipient of multiple awards from AIM, Gartner, Forrester, in NASCOM, and Financial Times, etc. Pradeep is a recognized thought leader working with businesses, non-profits, governments, and education institutions, helping them get them ready for the world of AI and analytics. Sir, good evening. We welcome you and thanks for being here with us. And over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharab. I think it's been first of all, thank you so much for the student body and the professors here for considering me for this event, inviting me. Always glad to come and interact with the future leaders. Right, this is a lot among you are going to be to have careers which will be substantially shaped by data and analytics. If not all, almost all, the way the world is going, right? So first of all, thank you for having me. I wish this could have been an interaction on campus. It would have been generally so much more personal and fun that way. But the new virtual world, so we'll go with what we have. Sounds good. Yes, I see. Before I get started, I see a lot of you are all suited up, so that's good. I think I'm the most informal one here, so I hope I'm not violating any institute policy here, right? Just kidding, yeah. So what I wanted to share with you today, and I'm thinking the way we can keep it is. I'll share with you, what considerations for you as you step into look at designing your careers. What do you need to understand about what's happening in the industry? What kind of roles exist, and how do you think about it? This is what I'll be talking about. While I do that, I'm sure you will have questions, etc. So unless there is something immediate you need to stop me, we can keep questions towards the later half of the discussions. I don't plan to take up the whole time. No, I'll try to keep it crisp. It's already end of a Sunday, so we'll go there. Okay, so maybe I can share my screen so that. Okay, can someone confirm you're able to see my screen?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Perfect. So I'm calling this, the brave new world of data. That's what we are all entering into. Whether you would have heard a variety of jargon getting thrown all around, right? Data analysis, data science, data engineering, machine learning, AI. Don't get bothered by all the terminology that's getting thrown around. But what the crux of the matter is that there is a lot of value to be derived from data. Data can influence a lot of the workings of a business or of a society, and that's going to be the reality of the future. The individuals, the organizations or the societies that can make the best use of it will be in a much better place, right? So let's look at it that way rather than getting stuck in all the jargon that that you come across in all the articles and whatnot, right? So so quickly about me, who am I? I've been a data scientist all my career, and for more than half of my career, I've been an entrepreneur as a founder of Tiger Analytics. I'm not going to talk a lot about the journey of Tiger Analytics. That's a completely different topic, but I'll draw upon my experiences and learnings from this journey, especially in the AI and analytics world. Not to talk about to you today, more about how is industry today leveraging AI and analytics? How is that changing? And what does it mean for you when you think of your next roles? Some of you, I think several of you are, the program that you're going through is, you already had some work experience prior to that. You might have seen some of you in the world of technology, some otherwise. But as you look forward into what's ahead of you, how do you bake in the AI and analytics? Where does this fit in? And are these different careers? Are these same careers? We'll talk a little bit about that. And also, and we will cover a lot of it, during some of the Q&A kind of a session, right? So with this, right? So I'll take a step back. We will just build it up to what has happened, right, over time, and how did we reach where we are today, right? That's how I was thinking of covering. So how did we come to the world of AI and analytics today, where we are today? All right. If you take a look at just a step back, look at what has happened over the last few centuries. There'll be a few key things that shape centuries, right? So I'd say if I were to look at the last 500 years or so, agricultural age, industrial age, information age, right? If I were to just bucket into three broad categories as to what's defining the technological world in general. And information age, I think broadly you can, a lot of it can be pointed to invention and adoption of the microprocessor. That's where a lot of these things started. That led to just the computing in any device that may be the microprocessor. That's the holy grail of the whole information age, right? And then you roughly know the whole the information technology revolution that has happened over the last 30-40 years. There's the whole revolution, the IT revolution, if you may call that, pre-2000s, right, in the 1980s, 90s, and so on globally. What did that do? One day, we were now we were able to do things faster. There were things getting automated, better quality control. All of those things were happening. But one other thing that happened along the way was a lot of data got collected, right? And then in the beginning of 2000s, right, roughly that's when, in general, across the industry, a lot of people started asking, is there, what value can I draw from this data? Now, I just picked 2000 as just one point in time. People have been using data for insights and discovery, and that for centuries, right? Whether you take, I don't know, when folks like Galileo or a lot of medical advances that happened, people are using a lot of data, right? I'm not discounting all of that, but in general, day-to-day business life, that roughly the 2000s is when, the early 2000s is when a lot of momentum picked up on this world, right? So there was a lot of data, and people started to started to use that data to make certain decisions, and that got sophisticated over time. That picked momentum over time, and that led to, that has brought all the way us to where we are today, where the whole the AI and analytics has become very integral to how organizations operate today, right? So what is all this, right? There's a lot of data being generated, right? Whether it could be in different forms, right? A lot of say, numeric data or text, images, speech, audio, video, whatnot. All of this data is being collected, and then now we have the wherewithal to be able to analyze these and draw insights from these, right? Whether you use and a variety of techniques are being used to do that, to draw these insights, whether it be certain aspects of math, stats, more of, or maybe some of the more what you might categorize more as machine learning. It could be OR, it could be certain business heuristics which are still very handy, very useful, without going deep into all the fancy algorithms. All of these, a variety of techniques at your hand. So you have data, you have all these techniques, and you're drawing these insights, and all these insights are helping you make better decisions, right? Whether it could be a better forecasting, whatever you could be forecasting, right? You could be optimizing things, or you could be designing a variety of things where the insights from this data will come in very handy. We'll talk a little bit about this more, but roughly this is what we are talking about, right? Everything that you talk about analytics, AI today, more or less fit into this paradigm, right? So there is data. You're drawing insights from the data using a variety of quant computer science techniques, and all that is helping drive a variety of decisions. Now, of course, sometimes you don't need to go through the whole this process. There are sometimes techniques, who the data and analysis has been pre-done for you, and you might just be using the decisions out of it. Or some nuances aside, but this is a broad framework, right? Now, if you look at where in an organization is, are people using data analytics, right? You take any organization, right? There could be any vertical. Think of it as, is it a telecom company? It is a consumer goods player? Is it a retailer? Maybe it's a financial services player. Maybe it's an insurance provider, hospitality provider. Anyone, where in their organizational journey, where in their org, that value chain, do they typically use analytics? No surprise, or no surprise that they use throughout, right? So if I had to break down the big buckets that are common across any organization, right? What would they be? So I'll start with, first and foremost, like what comes first? The marketing and sales part of it, right? So you're trying to acquire customers, you're trying to get the word out as an organization, right? In that thought process, heavy usage of AI and analytics today. All right, this is what drives top line. This is where a lot of investment is going into, or traditionally has gone into getting better at it. It could be marketing and sales effectiveness. How do I do better for the marketing budgets I have, for the sales personnel I have on the field? How do I better optimize my sales funnel, right? Just the effectiveness part of my resources, right? Whether it be marketing dollars or the people. Then there could also be things like you break it down further into optimization within each marketing channel, right? So for example, you planned a variety of ads or a variety of whatever marketing channel you're using. How do I optimize it further within that, right? So for example, in the world of digital advertising, you think of, how much do I bid for that? How much budget do I allocate for a particular ad? How do I flight the ad? Or which platform should this go to? You can just drill it down to very, very granular details. And you can think of it, whether digital or TV or anything, you can think of decisions need to be made, and data and analytics can now guide that. Right. Then same way about when you try, when you're marketing, what are you trying to do? You're trying to connect the right people with the right offering, right? And then at some point we'll need to think of identifying the right segments and connecting them to the right offerings, right? So that's what you're trying to do. And the segments are, in the whole digital world, you would have heard this often in your B school classes. Now, any segmentation is a segment of one, right? Meaning every individual is a segment of their own. So what message works for them? What offering are they looking for? What among a company's offerings will solve their problem, right? This is whole the hyper personalization thing, and mapping them to the right offering, right? Again, heavy usage of AI analytics, right? So same way, portfolio optimization. I have, as a company, especially it goes into maybe a little bit more on the consumer goods side, or otherwise as well. Yeah, I have a whole lot of products, services, offerings. At some point, it might become too much. How do I rationalize this? A lot of these are, you can imagine, you can think of it, right? Sales and marketing decisions. And all of these are heavily being driven by analytics in the background today, right? This is where we start, right? Marketing analytics. This is pre-acquiring the customer. What needs to be done to acquire a customer, right? That's this part of any organization. Now you come to, hey, we are just the customer analytics aspect of it. The process of acquiring the customer, right? So maybe I've acquired a customer. How do I find other customers like this, right? I'm trying to reach out to certain customers to elicit a response from them. What do I need to do, right? Maybe once I have customers inside the system, how do I understand my customer, right? This is what people call customer 360 in the industry. A short form for the all-round view of a customer, saying, why did they come? What's their experience? How much are they spending? Are they spending with others or competitors as well? All of it, right? So understanding a customer from a variety of perspectives, all of that. Then you think of customer that in the system, I want to grow, right? I want my customers to spend more with me, right? So which means, how can I offer services and products which are more relevant to a customer, take away from my competition in a way, right? So which is the growth aspect. How do I better price my products? So things like, it shouldn't be too high, too low. What are the kind of promotions I should be running, right? My discounting strategy, and so on, right? Can some of these be personalized to each customer, right? All of these much more relevant in a digital sense, but people in the offline world are also not trying to do a lot of work has happened in the offline world as well. With called out a variety of use cases here, right? So we talked about marketing and sales to get customers in, understanding customers, growing customers, preventing attrition. That's bucket 2. And then behind the scenes, all that is required for the operations of a company. That's number 3. This covers majority of the things. There's one more aspect which is again key, which has got more to do with the financial side of things, right? Which is again financial health of any business, more so for businesses which operate in the finance space, right? So things like how do I detect fraud, right? And different organizations have different kinds of use cases here. For example, if I'm in the lending space, how do I determine creditworthiness of an individual? How do I, can I predict delinquency? Right? Can I predict fraud? If I am an insurance provider, can I underwrite better? Can I be more intelligent about it? You know, there are other varieties of risk like cyber security. You can think of other things as well, right? So there is this compliance related analytics as well. So there's a whole lot of things related to the financial aspects of any org, especially the financial services organizations, where what you might call financial or risk analytics. This is a whole new bucket in itself. Right? So this is a broad brush view of whatever use case you take, whatever application of whatever business process you're able to think of, and where analytics is being used can broadly fall into one of these four buckets, right? Marketing and sales, the customer analytics part of it, operations, and then risk. Right? These four buckets, more or less everything that you can think of falls into one of these. So with this understanding, now let's see what does this mean when we think of careers, jobs, opportunities. How does how you can think of how data and AI fits into your career path, right? If I take a look at this, so I'm just not picking up this data from the World Economic Forum, right? The Jobs of Tomorrow report, and this hasn't been changing much in the last 4 or 5 years for sure that I've been tracking it. The top jobs of tomorrow are all related to the whole data, AI, analytics, automation space, right? Data professions, data analysis, data science, AI, ML, software development, process automation, robotics, digital transformation, IoT, information security, data engineering. All of these are being called out as the jobs of tomorrow, right? And these fair and square fit into all the use cases that I've been talking about. You will require all of these expertise, or most of these would be required to address the kind of use cases I just talked about, just a few minutes back. So one, we're very clear that either in the short term, in the midterm, long term, very hard to predict, right? How things change, but in the short to midterm, next decade, it's going to be the decade of data analytics AI, right? So there's very little doubt in my mind about that. Impact of AI and analytics today, it's whatever whichever thought leadership reports you read, and what we see day in day out with our clients. So today we work with maybe 150 of the Fortune 1000 clients, and we are seeing that almost every single job will be influenced by AI, right? Meaning I'm talking influenced by AI, right? I'm not talking replaced or dramatically changed, but AI will have a role to play in every single job, directly or indirectly. A lot of activities that people used to do till right, or people are doing now, about half of them will be automated in the next decade. And I see what has happened in the last decade, this holds true. Right? Half of what used to be manual a decade ago have been automated to a large degree, no part or full, but activities, right? I'm not talking about jobs being automated. A job can have a variety of activities, and a bunch of activities could be automated, right? So you will see that the whole AI will cause significant disruption in over time, right? It will not be overnight. Hey, suddenly something's dramatically it's going to change. But you take a look at what is today, what is 10 years down the line, you'll see, hey, there's a huge difference in the way people operate or businesses operate, right? So that's going to be there for sure. So what do you do, right? We are talking, hey, great, no, AI analytics is going to be the future. We are talking about that. So what kind of opportunities do you think of? What kind of opportunities exist for you? I want to talk a little bit about that, right? So maybe what I'll do, right? I'll pick up a real life example of say one serious business problem that's getting solved, and how various data AI professionals fit into this whole real life example. And you can start mapping yourself to see, hey, this part or this persona is quite exciting for me, right? Maybe that'll help you map your interests better, and we'll talk a little bit more about that subsequently. So this is one of this is a real client for us. This is one of the top 10 let's say restaurant fast food players in the world, and they came to us with a question saying, how do we better price our products? Products for them are items on the menu, right? Whatever are the items on their menu. It could be your burgers, fries, or the soft drinks or coffee, whatnot. We believe that some of the items we have overpriced, some of them are underpriced, right? And we think prices should change by market. Maybe prices could also change depending on time of the year. Prices should probably change by which location within a market a particular store is, and all of that. How do we go about doing this? And the other thing they said is, hey, when you're doing this, can you build an automated pricing solution for me, rather than giving me a one-time recommendation on what my prices should be? Can you build a software that can help me on an ongoing basis price all my products, right? So this is the broad business problem. Now, how do we use data and analytics to solve this? Now, if I go into details of how we actually solve this problem, it could be at least a day-long workshop or more. So I'll not go into that details, but keep it at a high level, mainly to tell you how different kinds of professionals need to come together to solve a problem like this, right? So if I were to place this in a data context, right? Of course, the first thing we'll need to do is understand, hey, how do you price your products today? How does this whole restaurant industry work? How does restaurant industry price their products? How does pricing happen in other industries? What is your competition like? How are they pricing? Right? What are the specific problems you face with pricing? If I go and change the logic, what will be the challenges in implementing the new system? Of course, we'll need to think of all these things. But beyond that, coming to the core solutioning part of it, from a data perspective, you'll think of this typical 5-step process, right? Any use case that has that has data and analytics behind the scenes, we're talking about these 5 categories. First, understand what data will be useful for me to solve this problem. How do I bring together the data and store it in a manner so that I can build on top of that? What kind of analysis do I need to do? What kind of models do I need to build? Then how do I scale it? Where will I serve these results? Effectively, how will it work as software, right? That's what we're talking about. And then how do I integrate it with whoever is using it? How will all of these be consumed? These are the 5 broad phases, right? For this specific scenario, right, where we are thinking of product pricing, how will it fit in? Hey, first I'm going to identify both internal and external data. I know what I have been pricing it. I might have done some price changes in the past. I know how my demand fluctuated because of that. I have competitor data which I can get from internal sources. I can look at for any given restaurant or a store. I can just scrape data off Google Maps to figure out what is the competition nearby, whatnot. Right, a lot of ways, a lot of data that can be collected from here. Right, and sometimes the data is straightforward, right? It's maybe you have 2-3 different sources, 3-4 different Excel files, and you're good. But that's rarely the case these days. Oftentimes you're working with hundreds of different data sources. These are huge data sets, and then you'll need to figure out, hey, how do I bring all of this? What are the data pipelines I need to build to bring them all into a data warehouse or a data lake? Where the data, gold standard data, is ready for analysis. Then I'll pick up that data and I'll do my pricing analysis. I might build some price elasticity models to simulate relationship between my price and demand. I might do a variety of other simulations like, hey, should I price lower or should I price with a certain promotion, whatnot, right? I could do a variety of behavioral simulations to see what will be the impact of that, etc. Right? But whatever I do, the way I'll pick up one market, one product, and I'll do all of this, right? Because I'm still fine-tuning my framework. Once this is done, then I'll need to scale it. I'll need to scale it to multiple brands, retailers, markets, whatnot. Right? You can think of there'll be certain problem statements where you're developing it on one instance, but then you need to scale it to millions of instances, right? So especially, for example, think of in the digital advertising world, should I show an ad to an individual or not? Right? So this is just you're building one model for that one individual, but then you will need to scale it to the same individual over several days, because every instant is a new decision to be made, and to all the individuals who might be your prospects or customers. Right? So the whole aspect of going from the core, the behavioral model to scaling of it to the entire scope of interest. Right? And then how do you deploy it as software? How do you manage, maintain, enhance the models? How does it run on the cloud? How is it access, security, all of those aspects? And then how do you integrate it? How do you ensure change management? How can it be used for ongoing planning or whatnot, right? Given all of these, you'll see that first part of it, usually that's the data engineering part, right? These are data engineers who would understand how to deal with large scales of data, who would build those data pipelines for a variety of data, different volumes, different velocities, build them, bring them into a data lake. Then building of them, doing the analysis, models, etc. All of that is the data science part, right? Then scaling and deployment and security, all of that becomes ML engineering and ML ops part, right? And then building those applications through which this could be consumed. You're talking about UI, UX, product engineering, and all of that. And all of these tied together by the core business and analytics solutioning. So these are the various personas, right? And I just put together just 5 personas here. In real life, you will see there'll be at least 25 personas. Different kinds of experts, different kinds of people needing to come together to solve different kinds of problems. So what is required for these different personas, right? What are the core skills that are required? Right? What are the building blocks? If I take a look, 4 broad categories of building blocks, right? Understanding of business solutioning, business analysis, if I may call that one, math and stats. Right? This is the core ML concepts, if I may call. Number two, programming and software engineering. Right? How do I build good software? That's three. Now, databases and cloud platforms. Right? That's four. Right? Four broad categories, if I may call. And these are different personas that I talked about, right? The business data analysts or the people responsible for the business and analytics solutioning. That is one category. Data scientists, AI/ML engineers, and data engineers. Right? What's all required here? The business and the people responsible for the overall the end-to-end business solutioning, you need to be very significantly tuned in to nuances of the business. How does this business operate? All of that. You should know enough about the underlying quant concepts and be aware of the technology aspects, but you don't need to be an expert in that, right? But the core expertise is going to be understanding of the business, very, very strongly followed by understanding quant and data. For data scientists, they need to be really, really strong in ML and the math stats concepts, strongly followed by programming and software engineering, because they are going to build these data products, right, with a good understanding of cloud platforms and also analysis. But relative importance wise, you see where the bigger circles are. For the AI/ML engineers, it slightly flips. They are more of software engineers at heart. They understand the latest and greatest technology platforms, but they're using all of this in the context of ML, right? So understanding of ML is important, right? So it shifts, the focus shifts. And finally, data engineers, you see the focus shifts substantially towards your databases, warehouses, lakes, clouds, cloud services, cloud platforms, all of that. That's how it shifts. Now, you'll see that here, the first one is more of a, it can manifest itself in various ways, right? You can be working in the marketing organizations of a marketing function of an organization, and you might still be you will still be doing analytics solutioning behind to be more effective as a marketer, right? And same way, you might be in operations and still do it. The first one is a more techno-functional role. The rest three of these are core technical roles. Right? So that's the way to think about as you look at the potential opportunities for yourself. So I'm at the end of what I wanted to cover. I know as you think of your future roles, what are some key takeaways for you to say what can help me become a better or a data-driven manager, right? A better will happen over time. The first thing is becoming a data-driven manager. For you, first thing, do I understand my data? Right. So you'll be working with a variety of data will keep coming your way. First of all, hey, am I sure about the quality of this data? Does it make sense? Is it sufficient for me to make a call on whatever decision I'm going to make? Is it complete, or are there some key pieces missing? All these questions, right? Do I understand my data? All right, that's the first one. Right? Then, do I have enough understanding of quant, stats, these concepts to be able to analyze the data, right? To infer it. That part, you should pick up, right? That part at whatever time. B-School is as good a time as any to do that. Then I should be able to analyze and visualize data, right? So again, you need to be hands-on for that. The variety of easy to use tools, you should be able to, if you have to write a quick query to do that, or there are a lot of drag and drop tools which are available. Now, if I were going and talking about this in a tech school, I would talk something very different. But here, I'm talking about using a variety of tools to be able to analyze and visualize your data. Be able to do that. Then, whether or not you are using all aspects of AI, but you should be familiar with capabilities of AI, because you never know, because no one is going to come and tell you that, hey, use AI here. That's something that's going to come from you. You're going to say, hey, this is a problem I can solve. AI can be used here. Though I might not be an expert in AI, but I know this is a problem that AI can solve. Then you can figure out, hey, how do I bring together the right people? How do I go to the right experts to solve this? Understand what solutions and tools exist in the market, especially from an AI perspective. Whether it be this data analysis, analytics, AI, we are in such a place where a lot of these have been enough products are out there in the market that you can use, that are ready to use, and you don't need to build a lot of these grounds up or just rethink everything from the scratch. There's a lot of things available quite in a packaged manner. But unless you are aware of those, you will not know, you'll not benefit from the power of that. So I think these are, I would say, these are the 5 things that would you keep in your mind and work towards it. You'll become a good data-driven manager for this, right? For the world of tomorrow. And of course, right, all of this, but you have to say that, hey, I will make that commitment to yourself that I will use data as much as possible to guide my thinking, to guide my decisions. There is a place for that gut decision, and there is a place for data, and you will need to balance it the right way. It's not one versus the other. It's always both of these two layered together. Use data as much as possible, but you will typically run into challenges around quality, sufficiency, completeness, a lot of uncertainties that data might not be able to guide you, which is where other things come in. But as much as possible, make a commitment to yourself that, hey, I'm going to use data to guide my thinking. That's my last message to square off what I wanted to talk today. So that's all I had to share. I'm open for any thoughts, questions, comments, anything that I can help you to better prepare for tomorrow.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an enlightening session. I think it was all worth it, and we got a lot of insights about analytics from this session. Now, the floor is open for questions, friends. Please raise your hands to ask any question. I think I can see the first hand raised by Arvind. Arvind, would you like to come up and ask a question? Arvind, I can see your hand raised. Would you unmute yourself and ask a question?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now
Thank
I can
you.
hear.
Hello, sir. Good evening. Thank you for taking the time out on a Sunday evening. And it was a very comprehensive coverage of the topic, sir. Like, I actually felt like you covered the tech side of it in a very restrained way, and then just brought it down to how we can become data-driven managers. So also, I happen to see that Tiger Analytics is now certified as a great place to work at. So congratulations on that, sir. And my question basically was, I was trying to understand Tiger Analytics itself, how you make use of data to take your decisions. So I was thinking in those terms, and maybe if that factored into the certificate that you got and how you feel about it. So just your views, sir.
Yeah. So there is a place for where can data help you make decisions, right? So for example, for us, as if you think about Tiger in general, like how do we make data to use decisions? It could be or for that matter, any consulting people heavy business, right? So we do the same thing, right? So there is, if I take a look at the first phase, I talked about marketing and sales analytics. So there is, we know what is the ROI of various marketing channels for us, right? Hey, which conferences should we go and present in? What are the channels where we should do? What markets yield better ROI for marketing budget? So we do all of that, right? Maybe we don't need just the scale at which we operate. Maybe we don't need the most sophisticated models. Just simple analysis in Excel can give us that. We are good for that. But let's say because look at this from Tiger Analytics perspective, there might be, I'm looking at maybe, I'm talking to potentially 500, 600 prospects every year. As opposed to think of it, if I'm speaking to 5 million, then it's a very different problem statement, right? Same way we look at collecting data on the equivalent of customer analytics for us becomes a little bit more of team and customer analytics, right? So we look at, for example, there's a systematic way in which we collect what are the pain points of the team, right? What causes frustration in the team? And then there is there are metrics that we design, we track. There are solutions being proposed. So similarly, I think of say forecasting. Forecasting we do in terms of, hey, what is the upcoming demand for various skills? What kind of people do we need to hire? How do we need to train? Because there will be people within the system who will be getting promoted, new people coming in. We need to simulate all of this. So there's a lot of analysis analytics that goes on within Tiger as a company as well, while we service our clients to solve their business problems.
Thank you, sir. That absolutely makes sense. And now let's move on to another question. I can see hand raised by Shivang Chaudhary. Shivang, would you like to unmute yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Sanjana. So, sir, I would like to ask you a two-part question. Sir, first of all, investing for non-IT businesses, would it be beneficial for them to invest right now in AI for the future, and how will it give them a competitive advantage? And sir, the second question is, according to you, what do you see the role of MBAs in AI 10 years down the line?
The second part I understood. The second question I understood quite well. What's the first one again, please?
The first one is, how would incorporating AI in non-IT businesses would give them a competitive advantage?
Non-IT businesses, is it?
Yes.
No, so all of the impact that is being driven today is applications of AI in non-IT businesses, right? Now, if you ask this question in other forums, people might tell you that there is no business today that you might call as a non-IT business, right? Everyone is rethinking themselves as, say, I'm a tech business, right? So, I find it funny, right? So last time when all that WeWork saga was going on, but 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it was like, the whole thing of a real estate business was being positioned as a tech business. And then that's the reality throughout. The tech has become so integral to any business that you can't call something a non-IT business, right? Everything has technology at the core of it. And wherever there is data, there will be analytics can be can be used quite a bit there. So I'm taking. So we have clients in as some of the very, very offbeat things that you might not be able, you might know that don't come top of mind for us. Mining, construction, right? Hospitals. And how analytics and AI is being used in the all of them are benefiting quite a bit. Education, for example, right? All of these are they begin to use AI analytics. Of course, digital businesses, like for example, an e-commerce player might just the whole they might be built on the foundation of ML, data, AI, all of that. They'll use it much more often, but everyone else, I don't think there's any industry that's left behind. The only question would be, at what scale will you start using these things? At what scale will your scale will determine the degree to which you want to invest in AI analytics, right? So for example, if you're a small player, I would you have limited resources to invest. You need to make a call. Where should I invest this money? Hey, should I spend more on more on sales, or should I spend money to develop systems which can help optimize my operations? Right? It's not a clear answer at that time, right? Scale also drives some of these decisions. But to answer your first question, the question is that don't think of any business as a non-IT business. It's more of the scale is what we'll say. And you'll always question, for example, you'll simulate it first, right? This is called building a financial case. Is where you'll say, hey, if I were to optimize this or predict this better, or use AI analytics to do this better, how will it move the needle? What will be the impact of that, right? How much am I investing? And what will be the benefit? If it makes sense, then you go for it. If it doesn't make sense, you don't do it. That's usually whenever we work with clients, that's the first thing that they would do with us, is making a financial case for any program being planned, irrespective of the industry. Right. So I hope at least you got some sense of an answer to your first question. The second question you asked was, what's the role of an MBA in these? You asked 10 years down the line, but I'm going to talk about 10 years down the line, or immediately now, or near future. I might not have two different answers, like dramatically different answers for that. So today, what I showed you that whole an example, right? The pricing example, where we are saying that, hey, help me price. Then I said, how will data engineers come in? How will data scientists come in? How will ML engineers or ML ops folks, DevOps folks, application developers, UI UX experts will come in? How will they need to work together to do all of that? It just doesn't stop there, right? You will see that the data scientists will be broken down further. There'll be specialists in forecasting. There'll be some computer vision specialists. There might be some NLP specialists and whatnot. Data engineers, again, could be different. There'll be folks who are experts in certain cloud platforms, some with more data warehousing, whatnot, right? Again, enough nuances of the technical nuances. But what I want to appreciate is, there's a whole host of these tech experts which are needed, who will be quite deep in specific areas, who are needed to solve the problem. But at the same time, there are people needed who can stitch together the entire solution. Right? It's just, so think of it, for a problem like this, you will need 7-8 different type of tech experts to come in, but there will be someone who has to hold it end to end. How am I solutioning the whole thing? Right? A data engineer will come and say, hey, my job is I need to bring in data and build this part. Or a data scientist will say, I'm going to build these simulations. Or an app engineer will say, I'll build this application. But there will be someone who is thinking about the business problem, who is thinking about stitching together and orchestrating all these tech pockets so that they come together, they flow. Today, that becomes one of the key roles. I see MBAs are very, very well placed to do that today, right? And we do we've had our learnings as a company as Tiger as well, right? From the early days to now. So today we see that when we hire from B school, that's the group today which does very well at breadth, right? So they're able to go deep into a business problem, right? Either as a generalist or as a domain specialist, go deep, and then go broad over the technology areas, right? You might not be an expert in any of these tech areas, but you know enough to stitch together the overall solution, right? The importance of generalists. Where would the world go without generalists, right? So I think that's the role I see MBAs could play a very key part in general. Of course, there'll always be some among you who get super excited or not super interested in a certain technical areas that you could not wish to build your careers there. But otherwise, the way I look at MBAs is people who would build the overall solution, orchestrate the whole thing, bring together all these various components that are required to solve this problem and make the solution happen.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an elaborate answer. I hope, Shivang, you got your answer. Now we will move on to another question. And I see hand raised from Sai Prashant. Sai, would you like to come up to ask a question?
Yeah, sure. Good evening, Pradeep. Firstly, thank you for your insightful section where you have given an overview about how things going on in the corporate, and you also mentioned specifically about the roles. So it was really useful for us. And you mentioned, as you mentioned, like how analytics in the different areas, maybe the marketing or operations can be useful. So for a company aspiring for a data-driven culture, in order to improve their performance, how a leader should align their human resource, maybe talent, in order to achieve it.
Yeah, it's this is a question some of the biggest CIOs, CTOs, or CDOs they are grappling with today. Right? Again, it will not be a straightforward answer. A lot depends on what state an organization currently is, right? So think of it as the first journey of any organization will be, I need to understand what data exists in my company, and is there a way I can access my data? That is the first thing before I can think of any analysis, right? So this is where today people are coming up with this role. Not today, right? For the past few years, people have been coming up with this role in an organization. They are calling them the chief data officers, right? So the chief data officer's main job becomes enabling both the discovery of data that exists, not just discovery, access to data, ensuring clean data, governance around the data, all of it, right? Primarily, being the ensuring that as a company, whenever if there are any data-driven decisions need to be made, I'm responsible for ensuring data is in place, right? So that was one step that several organizations took. Now, several other organizations, what they've done in addition to this, or sometimes it's an alternative to this, they come up with this role called a chief analytics officer. What this function does is any analytics use case or any other function in a business that can benefit from analytics, there is this core team which is getting built with specialists, all the kind of personas that I talked about. Everyone sits centrally, and these are people who would go and solve different problems for different business units. Right. Now, where generally I see a shift happening is, while there is a central team, there's also teams embedded within different business units, right? So think of it as within marketing, there will be a small team, not just marketing, right? Marketing for Asia Pacific, there will be a small team. Marketing for Europe, there will be a team. And all these teams would be connected via a loose handshake, right? So think of some combination of pooled versus distributed. right? So organizations are creating these kind of teams to be able to do that. So, right, just to answer your question in a nutshell, first, what do I need to get my data in order? It could be centralized decision. It could be decentralized again.
Yeah.
What do I need to do to benefit from my data? It could be centralized teams or decentralized teams. For all of these, there need to be protocols in terms of, hey, data protocols in terms of how do I ensure quality and all of that. There should be technology protocols. It cannot be that there are different parts of the org working on in whichever way they want. There are certain protocols like this which come in and help standardize. But these are the rough dimensions along which organizations operate. Right? But what you asked is a very, very deep question. You can imagine.
Yeah, got it.
But I'm glad you're already starting to think along those lines.
Yeah, thank you.
So now we have the last question for this session by Professor Girdhar Ramachandran. Can I ask Professor to please come up and ask his question?
Of course. Hey, Pradeep.
Hey, Giri.
Hey, I missed it, man. I thought it was, some reason I thought this session is starting at 7:20. I didn't realize it was ending at 7:20. So, my bad. I wish I had started and joined you earlier. I'm sure, knowing you, this session would have been really very of immense value to the students. Okay, I have two questions. Okay, and this is based on your own trajectory in analytics as an organization, right? The first question is a lot of what you do for the organizations is connected with the analytics maturity of that organization, right? So if you're going to work with a PNG versus you're going to work with Haldiram's or somebody, there are going to be differences in the way they are looking at analytics as a differentiator and in terms of, and that translates into investments that they make or questions they ask and so on. So have you seen that kind of a difference across the spread of organizations that you engage with? And second, have you seen through the engagement time period them moving up in terms of their maturity and therefore, asking you a different kind of question later on? That was the first question. The second question is more as a business school that I'm interested in looking at, getting some insights from you, is a lot of business schools and technical institutions have been offering a lot of programs in analytics in different formats, right? A diploma, 1 year, 2 year, 1 month, 1 week, and all of that. And what I've seen quite often is that most of them seem to be looking at it from a perspective of, how do I help them become a data scientist, right? Versus, how do I consume analytics, right? So in your opinion, what would be a possible position that a business school should take in terms of, teaching analytics or helping students learn about it and so on?
Yeah, no, sure, Giri. Good to hear from you all this while. So, just for all the students, Professor Giridhar, as you may know him, or Giri, as I mentioned, he's been a well-wisher of Tiger for several years, and we've known each other for more than a decade now, and he's moved from industry to academia. Good. I'm glad you have him as one of your professors. Great person always to discuss this topic with. So the first question that Giri was asking was, do we see difference in the analytics maturity of organizations, the kinds of problems that we solve for different organizations? How do they change? How do people how does this analytics maturity vary, etc.? It's a little bit of a rhetorical question, the way he also asked. Of course, yes, there will be a lot of differences. So the biggest difference that comes in general is it depends on the overall size of an organization, right? That is today, if I were to say figure out, if I'm looking at what is the biggest driver of how much consumer of data-driven decision making, analytic decision making an organization is, this day and age, I would say it is the sheer size of the organization. The large organizations, so think of it as the $5 billion plus revenue organizations in a particular industry, more or less, give or take, they all know. If I take let's say, I'll say a CPG player in the food space, $5 billion plus in revenues, say global footprint. This is the category I'm looking at. No matter who I look at, they'll roughly be, give or take, similar analytics maturity, right? They might be approaching it from different angles depending on how they're structured, but the kind of problems they are solving, where they want to use data, it will be more or less the same. Now, if I take at the same industry, right, say CPG food space, I'll go from a global player, 5 billion plus, to maybe say sub $1 billion revenue operating in a particular geography. Their maturity would be a bit lower. And it all boils down to the kind of appetite for investment in this space. Meaning, if, for example, if I have, say, if I'm a billion, $1 billion in revenue, and I can move my needle by 0.1%, right? That's quite a bit compared to if I'm only, let's say, $100,000 in revenue, right? That 0.1% doesn't mean much. I'll not invest much, right? So scale drives a lot of behavior for using data analytics AI. So what we see often is that if I were to categorize them that way, saying particular industry, particular revenue bucket, analytics maturity doesn't change a whole lot. And of course, it will be 20-30% difference would be there, but more or less people know where they want to go to, and there could be there will be significant similarities between organizations. A big difference comes between when we look at these different categories, right? A small company to a mid-size, mid-large to, say, a Fortune 1000 kind of a thing. That's more of an indicator of, will be a better indicator of analytics maturity than anything else. Of course, again, depending on which industry one is, it could change substantially. For example, let's say a $5 billion or a $10 billion mining industry versus a small new age e-commerce player, a huge difference, right? They're not comparable. The e-commerce player will completely run on data analytics, AI tech, no matter how small. So we shouldn't compare against across industries, but within an industry, we see this substantial difference. And people are making progress within each as well. They continue. It's a journey. Now, everyone is 5 years ago, I would say the general thinking still was, is there value in AI analytics? Let me solve a use case. Let me figure out if I'm deriving value. People were thinking that way. But now people think about, oh, this is done. How do I scale? How do I ensure my entire organization uses this? Where am I missing out opportunities because that part of the organization is not data literate or data savvy? So I think that shift is happening, and it will only accelerate, right? So next 5 years is going to be a huge difference in how organizations operate, right? So
within that is ownership have you seen ownership having an impact, our management having an impact?
When you say ownership,
proprietary or publicly listed, yeah, those kind of organizational.
No, I haven't So a lot of these, in general, a lot of these big ones most of them are anyways listed, companies. So that doesn't, I haven't seen a lot of that difference. It all boils down to, I do this, how much will the needle move kind of analysis is what works at the end of the day in most of these places. Everyone's at that maturity now that the questioning of what is the value of something we plan to do, and after we have done it, did it yield the results? That is coming in, which is good because that keeps everyone honest. Right? You're just not doing something just for doing something cool, right? There should be a tangible impact for that.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the other question, Giri, you asked was, how do B schools think about students preparing for careers in the world of data? And very, very valid point. I've spoken to professors at B schools, looked at some of their data analytics curriculum, all of that. And a lot of them seem to be more intent on preparing their MBA grads for more technical data science roles, right? They go deeper into technology and all of that. I've seen in enough instances, and I always thought that hey, those are technical roles well suited for tech schools, right? And B school students bring a skill set, or have been groomed to develop that skill set, which is quite different, and we should leverage that more, which is ability to connect the dots. It's not about going deep into one technology and solving it. I'm an expert in a regression or these ML models or that deep learning or computer vision. Hey, you should, as someone, as a B school student, I would say what the natural strength of an average B school student. I know each one of you will have your own strengths, but if I were to average out what I have seen, would be ability to connect the dots between all of these to solve a broader unstructured business problem, right? So my in general, whenever someone asks me for my advice on this, I've always said, hey, let's play to strengths of the students here and the B schools, which is the broader business problem solving. Don't try to solve one data problem. Let the data scientists figure out, right, the technical part of it. But hey, how do we use data science to solve a broader business problem in which that solutioning will have a data scientist, data engineers, app engineers, whatnot, right? 7-8 different tech experts will need to come in. But hey, how do I groom my thinking to stitch together this solution, bring all of this together to solve that problem, right? If we can build, nurture that thinking, that will be far, far more valuable than going deeper into one specific technical area. That's my my view. We are betting on that in general as a company at Tiger. When we bring in B school grads, we try to groom it that way. So that would be, and that has worked well for us. So I can with reasonable confidence say that that's not a bad approach to take wherever you build your careers, right? Be that person who can stitch together the broader solution. And you need to work with different tech experts. Some of them will be data scientists, yes. You will need to understand data science to be able to stitch that solution, but be the person who can stitch that the overall solution.
And again, this is also if that person is actually ending up in a place like Tiger, right? So even if that person is ending in a place like, say, Unilever or P&G, there I think as a business school, my role is to make him or her be a good evangelist of analytics, and then use that in asking the right questions to the analytics team, either in-house or to an outsourced agency, rather than actually be known to, if they know and they're very comfortable with methods and techniques and technology, that's a bonus. But I think being a good consumer, I think, is what we should prepare them for. I thought I'll just bounce it off with you as well. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think that's the right way to put it. Being a good consumer, being a good evangelist, being able to develop that high level solutions using data. You might be in an org like a P&G or a Unilever. You might be in marketing or operations. See how you can leverage data, but you need not be the person who is developing that exact that technical solution, right? Leverage the experts who can do it. People who have spent or who are committed to building their careers in that space. They'll be able to do a better job in that aspect, at that specific point. And multiple of those individuals would be required, but you can be that the consumer of that, the overall solution builder, and data and analytics evangelist, as Gary said. I think that will be playing to your strengths better.
Thanks, Pradeep.
So I think that's all for the day for you. I would like to say a big thank you for such an enlightening session and on analytics and opportunities. So really appreciate your efforts and time here, and looking forward to stay connected with you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you all. Thank you for having me and spending your Sunday evening talking about analytics.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
So friends, before we end a wonderful day today, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all the speakers, panelists, moderators, and all the participants here. I would like to invite Sumit and Vivek, the other team members of the Conclave committee, to come up and propose a vote of thanks for each one of you. Thank you so much, and over to you, Sumit and Vivek.
A very good evening to all. It was a great honor to be part of this wonderful event. On behalf of the Conclave Committee team, XLRI PGDM GM batch, it is indeed my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. With a lot of gratitude and respect for our distinguished guest of honor, Mr. Sam Pitroda, and other eminent speakers, moderators, and participants for not only sparing their invaluable time for us to grace this occasion, but also for enlightening us with their commendable talk on digital transformation paradigm with digital first mindset. Thanks all for explaining such complex subjects and frameworks with such a lucid explanation. I believe that our audience would now leave this conclave with concrete digital transformation learnings. Over to you, Vivek.
Thanks, Sumit. The synergy of the Conclave Committee would not be possible without the enthusiastic and energetic support from all our batchmates. I would like to thank all the faculties, admin staff, technical staff, and volunteers for their continuous support round the clock for the past few days to make this event a success. A big thank you to all the stakeholders, including industry experts, researchers, academicians, and students from varied institutions who accompanied us throughout this event. You have indeed put the best of your efforts to make this event unforgettable. We owe you a lot for making this event an embodiment of knowledge. Once again, I would like to thank everyone for taking the time to be with us today and helping us make this conclave a grand success. Thank you and good night to all.
Thank you, Professor and Pradeep sir. Thank you for this session.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.